Hello, everybody. I am reporting to you this afternoon from Polly's fabulous dressing room and costume shop, and I'm here to offer you some audition tips and techniques. And today I'm going to be going from the audition sides for A Christmas Carol, since that is the upcoming play. But remember that these audition tips and techniques are useful for anything that you might want to use. And don't forget to check out some of my audition techniques from previous shows, because those techniques are applicable to all of the scripts that you could ever want as well. So, to jump right into it, I wanted to work today on the technique of differentiation. Differentiation is so super important as an actor. One of the biggest mistakes that I see young actors or actors who are just starting out make is that they do what's called a Johnny One Note, or what I call a Johnny One Note. Johnny One Note is a character and a song from the really famous Broadway play Babes in Arms. There's a song about him and it goes, "Johnny could only sing one note and the note he sang was this. Ah." So imagine if you heard a song and the song only played one note. Do you think that would be a good song or a bad song? Probably not a very good song. Nobody wants to just listen to one note. The same thing is true as an actor. You don't want to do your entire monologue on one note. And what I mean by one note is one emotional note. Even if the emotion that you choose to deliver is a really appropriate intention for that character, you still don't want to just do that one thing for the whole monologue. So even if the character is angry in that moment and you decide that the anger should feel like this and you're really good at showing rage like this, you don't want to do this for 3 minutes straight. Because once you've shown the director that you can do that, it's like, okay, great. What else can you do? Also, it gets to feel very tedious and exhausting and very repetitive for the audience to watch. So what you want to do, this is why I discourage actors from thinking about emotions, because emotions can lead you into that Johnny One Note thing. So try to think more like about intentions. What does the character want in this scene? And if what that character wants leads them to anger, that's fine. But how many different ways can you show anger? Anger isn't just here. You could be angry and you could be really intense and down here. So that's why I like to encourage my actors to use what I describe as the 3x3 method. The 3x3 method means that you're going to give yourself 3 different ways to do 3 different very important things. And those 3 things are speed, volume, and intensity. So 3 different speeds, 3 different volumes, 3 different intensities. Now that means you're going to do 3 different ways of doing your speed. So your character could talk really, really fast, or they could slow it down, or they could be somewhere in the middle. Volume, they could get really loud, they could get really soft, or they could be somewhere in the middle. Remember, when you're talking about soft, you are still projecting your voice. So even if you do a stage whisper, you're still projecting from the diaphragm. Speaking slowly doesn't mean don't project. You always project. And then the third one is intensity. Your intensity could be really big. It could be really low. Or it could be somewhere in the middle. And intensity has range too. Intensity doesn't have to be anger. Intensity could be goofiness. Wow, I'm really goofy. Well, I'm just a little bit goofy. Or maybe I'm just somewhere in the middle goofy. So you want to pick 3 different ways to do each of those 3 different things, and then apply that differentiation to your monologue. So for example, for today, I'm going to use Fred's monologue from A Christmas Carol. And in this monologue, Fred is talking about why he loves Christmas. But again, don't think about his feelings toward Christmas. Try not to think about emotions. Try to think about what Fred wants in this scene. And what Fred wants in this scene is he wants his uncle to come spend Christmas with the family. He feels very badly about his uncle. He feels a little bit of guilt about his uncle. He knows his uncle is alone. He knows his uncle is miserable. He knows that his uncle doesn't have friends or family. And Fred is worried about him. He wants him to connect with the family. He wants him to be part of their lives. He wants to get him out of his miserly, depressive ways so that he won't be such a miserable person. So Fred is really worried about him. So he wants to entice him. He wants to convince him. He wants to cajole him. So when you do this monologue, don't think about happy, right? Christmas makes me happy and I want to share happiness, because happy is just boring. But enticing is interesting, cajoling is interesting, convincing is interesting. So really think about those intentions, and then try to find different tactics. A tactic is how you get what you want, and an intention is what you want. So if he wants to bring Scrooge to Christmas, how can he entice him? So he says, there are many things from which I might have derived good, from which I have not profited. I dare say Christmas among the rest, but I am sure that I have always thought of Christmas time as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. So we're just going to take that much. Now, if you take that bit just by itself, it can seem kind of boring, because again, he's just kind of talking about the fact that Christmas makes him happy. But if you think about it as he really is worried about this uncle of his, and he really wants to pull him in and get him to come around and be part of the family, that makes it much more interesting. So instead of just saying, I'm going to talk about the fact that Christmas makes me happy, I'm going to really try to convince my uncle to believe me on this. So the line before, also always ask yourself, what was the moment before? That's really important. We're going to talk about that in a different video. But the moment before, just briefly in this one, is that Scrooge has said to him, what's the use of Christmas? So that's what inspires this monologue. And he says, there are many things from which I might have derived good, by which I have not profited. So here he's talking about the difference between what is good and what is profit. So he's basically telling him that money can't always buy happiness. So just because you don't profit from something in golden riches doesn't mean that it can't make you happy. Having a good time with your friends can be a good experience. It doesn't mean you're getting richer by it. So he's not saying that money is a bad thing. He's just saying that you don't always need money to be happy. So he says, there are many things from which I might have derived good, by which I have not profited. Now, did you see how I used the 3x3 just in that one sentence? I came from a bit of a higher volume and a slower speed. And by the end, I came into sort of a medium level of intensity, and I sped up a little bit. I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to exaggerate it a bit just to make the point. I wouldn't do the line this way, but I'm exaggerating it for the purposes of demonstrating. There are many things from which I might have derived good, by which I have not profited. Do you see how I differentiate the speed, the tone, and the intensity? And I mix and match that 3x3 to get 9 different varieties of the ways I can deliver my voice. So I'm going to move on. There are many things from which I might have derived good, by which I have not profited. I dare say Christmas among the rest. In other words, Christmas is just one example. But I am sure that I have always thought of Christmas time as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time, the only time I know of in the long calendar of the year when men and women seem by one consent to open their shut-up hearts freely and to think of other people. And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that Christmas time has done me good and will do me good, and therefore I say, God bless it. Now, I don't know if that's the absolute best way to do this particular monologue, but I do know that that's a really well differentiated way to do the monologue. I didn't get repetitive in my tone, my volume, or my speed. I showed lots of different ways to do that. And I showed the director that I have lots of different ranges in me. Most importantly, I showed the director that I can make a choice. I can make a multitude of choices, and that all of that range is in there. So if the director said to me, oh, I really liked what you did in the middle part there, can you actually do more of that throughout the monologue? I can make that choice because I've shown the director I have the range, I have the ability to differentiate. I hope this makes sense. I hope this is helpful. Differentiate, 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 and I will come back to you tomorrow with a new video and a new topic. Stay tuned.